So I see we're talking about Tiffany France. Tiffany France is the mother that came on here crying and whining about her 12th grader who got sent back to 9th grade.
Y'all, don't he get a chance? Do he get a chance?
He's a smart kid.
Today, we're going to take a look at the story of Tiffany France and the situation her and her son had to go through with the Baltimore City's school district. We're going to try to figure out who holds majority of the blame. Was it the parent? Was it the school district? Or was it the child? Let's talk about it. What it look like TV?
I am back. What it do, baby?
YouTube's own Varnell Hill.
Did you miss me?
Your very own spokesman for the Insidians. We're inside and we're comfortable.
They're so comfortable.
And I'm back with another one. And today, y'all, I got a story that's circulating over on TikTok for y'all. And it's about this lady, Tiffany France. And it's from 2021, right after the pandemic or during the pandemic, all that situation was going on. And her and her child found themselves in a very interesting situation. And this story right here is a hell of a story. And a lot of parents chimed in. But first, I'm going to play the full news report for y'all so y'all have all the juicy details and tidbits. And we could come back on the other side and we could talk about who we think holds the majority of the blame in this situation, because it's a lot of blame to be passed out in this situation. Believe me, this is a wild story. That's the full story right there. That's the full news report. As you can see, it's a lot there, and it's a lot of blame to go around. If you want to be honest, it's a lot of blame to go around. But being a parent of children that went to public school, I could be the first to tell you that if you sending your children to public school, then you supposed to be on top of everything, because you sending them to public school.
He ain't lying.
And how you gonna get up here on the internet and with a straight face say you saw your son, you physically witnessed him bringing in failing grade after failing grade?
She thought her oldest son was promoted.
That don't make sense.
But because they was passing him, that was cool enough for you, and it was cool enough for him. You wasn't upset about the failing grades coming into the house? Forget the school standard. You didn't have a standard of you're better than this, you're not going to bring this into my house. So, you not knowing the depths of this, it's kind of hard for me to give you a pass, because you knew where you were sending your child to. And also, I find it, convenient that the news report just left out the fact that, yes, only one teacher reached out for an individual conference with the parent, but it's parent-teacher conferences several times a year, every year. So the same way he missed 200 and something days of school, he missed 16 parent-teacher conferences. She was just as absent as he was, but they didn't bring any of that up. They just made it seem like it was all victim. But, if my opinions sound a little harsh, when you scroll through TikTok, it doesn't feel like I'm alone, because not a lot of people are buying what the mother is trying to sell about her having no hands or no parts in her son failing.
So you mean to tell me that my child made it through 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, to 12th grade, and supposed to be graduating, and somehow I didn't know, as the parent that should be monitoring said crotch fruit, that my child failed 22 classes from 9th grade to senior year? The school then says, hey, we're sending them back to freshman year. Why? Because your offspring is duncer than a box of rocks. I'm now upset. I'm befuddled, if you will, because I don't understand how my son is supposed to be graduating, but he got to go back to 9th grade. Mind you, most people are starting high school 13, maybe 14 years old. Still a child. I'm now outraged, brings it to the internet, that my child that is duncer than a box of Pebble Rocks gotta go from 12 to 9 because he done failed 22 classes and I never know. Not only that, I feel like he should still graduate. Okay.
Yeah, I found that strange myself too, man. So you mean to tell me you are fully aware that your son failed 22 out of 25 classes? He only passed 3 classes for 4 years of high school. That means one of them years he ain't passed not one class. Somehow he still was middle of the pack. Dang, that school is doing bad. But anyway, you are aware of all of this and you still want him to graduate. And you think you're doing all this in his best interest. I don't know what to tell y'all.
Baby, I just saw that video of that mom who was talking about how her son wasn't going to be able to walk the stage because he doesn't have the GPA to do it. He's just failing everything, and then ends it with, not only is he not graduating, but he's being pushed back from 12th grade all the way until 9th grade. And I'm just sitting here flabbergasted because she's blaming the school. She's like, the school failed him. And if I've been out of school for a while now, it's been some years, but if I remember correctly, the school typically communicates with the parent via report cards, progress report cards, emails, PTA meetings. Like, at what point did the mom take responsibility for her son? Because let's not forget, they're not adults yet. Their frontal lobe and their brain is still a little mushy. Like, it's forming, but sometimes they still definitely need our help, our advocacy, our motivation, and just a little push, a little nudge. So it's hard for me to conceptualize that this is fully the school's fault. I refuse to believe that she at one point, or just never at one point, asked about his schoolwork or wanted proof for what he was doing, because I'm sure he came in and she's like, you got homework, you got everything done? Yeah, Ma, yeah, I got it. And yeah, that's it? No interest in what he's learning about, what he knows, where he's at. Like, it just makes me question the relationship and how much you actually cared during those years that he was in high school. Like, there's more to the story here. Yes, I know that schools, there's tons of stories about schools falling short and failing students and coming up short, but that's still our kids. That's still your child. That's still, up until well into adulthood. I am 38 and I'm still calling my mom for advice. You know what I'm saying? Being a parent does not stop. So you failed him, not the school.
So I'm caught up on the story of the 12th grader getting sent back to 9th grade and having like a GPA of 0.137. I'm gonna round you up, but I'm gonna give you 0.14. Jesus. Now, one, I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't even know that was possible to be sent back to the 9th grade. 2, the mom is around here crying, saying, everybody failed that child. Everybody failed him and the students that's after him, because he's like ranked like 62 or 61, I think, out of like 120. Send all y'all asses back to 9th grade. All y'all, the teachers, the mom. And listen, I know I am out of touch on kids. I don't have any kids, the kids that are in my life, we don't live in the same state. So I'm very out of touch on kids and the way the school system works nowadays. But don't teachers have to don't your parent have to sign something? Are we still doing that? And I feel like in today's world, it will be easier to contact the parents with I feel like if I was a teacher, I can text the parents, hey, your kid is acting up in the class. Yeah. I feel like it's easier to communicate with parents. So how did she not know that her kid been failing since he entered school? This is just so irresponsible. Honestly, shit like this is irresponsible. Stuff like this, neglect, you need to go to jail. And I hate the excuse of, I got all these kids and I always work. Yes, that can be a thing, but also you need to take time to be making sure your children are doing what they're doing. And I'm not trying to mom shame her at all, but this is just come on. And it's not just you. I know this is the only story that's like live right now, but like I said, all those other students and all those other parents is after your son. Like, who had the highest GPA? What was the highest GPA in the school? Oh my God, yo. Oh. And then my question is, are y'all gonna send him back to 9th grade at a different school with different teachers? Because is he about to repeat the same cycle? Because it sounds like the teachers ain't shit either.
What you say? What you say? I said, whoever threw that paper, your mom's a hoe.
Yeah, we gotta cut that out, man. All this, you can't critique a parent that has multiple children. They don't have that many children. I hate to be rude and ignorant, but the excuse for neglecting a child can't be I have other children. Listen to that. That sounds crazy.
Like, he didn't deserve that. Where is the mentors? Where is the help for him?
This is all his mother's fault. It's all her fault. Just like it was my parents' fault when it happened to me. I was in the 12th grade with 1 credit. I had 1 credit and they labeled me in the 12th grade. And guess what? I knew for a fact I wasn't in the damn 12th grade. How are you not checking your child's grades for 3 years? They said her son missed over 247 days. I don't know what state y'all in, but I know they called a house or whatever number's on file when your kids miss school. So you mean to tell me out of 247 times, she never received not one of those phone calls about her son not going to school? Or being tardy or being late? Let y'all know something. When y'all don't give a damn about your own kids, these teachers ain't about to be out here giving a damn on your behalf. They already underpaid. And where is his dad? If he's gone from this world, RIP. But if he's alive, where is he? Now, he's probably going to wind up getting flunked out.
So I see we're talking about Tiffany France. Tiffany France is the mother that came on here crying and whining about her 12th grader who got sent back to 9th grade. Now, if you see on the video, he is on his game. So what does that really have to say about Tiffany France and her parenting abilities? I get that she's a single mother. She works 3 jobs, blase, 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 blase. But how do you not know your kid's not going to school? How do you not get notifications? How do you not get an email? How do you get nothing? How do you not know that your child is failing 22 classes? If you fail and they move you on, it's still a fail. Now, the school has some culpability because they have to keep passing these kids on per the No Child Left Behind, which is a bunch of bullshit. These kids have caught on and they're just like, I don't have to do shit because I'm going to keep moving on and on and on and on. So there's a lot of people that are culpable in this. The head leaders are the mom and the child. They knew what they were doing.
Hey, good afternoon, Miss Francis. You're the mom of the young man, the 17-year-old student who was sent back from 12th grade to 9th grade because he essentially did not pass anything or just probably 3 classes and that he has a 0.18 GPA. As a mom, I feel the anguish that you had on that news show. But as a mom, again, I am confused about a few things, as I do think a lot of viewers on these platforms are confused, right? So the school's issue, I'm going to speak about at the end of this, right? But the situation with your son is very interesting because I'm not sure, as a mom again, how you were not aware that your son was failing to that extent, right? And I get what you're going to say. Well, the school kept promoting him. You're right. That is the school's dysfunction, and we're going to talk about that. But I am not sure how you were not aware that your son was failing, because you did say that you knew he failed certain classes, but that because he was promoted, you thought it was okay. So I'm not sure where this magic math of a failure just turns into an okay, right? Like, we're going to forget about it later, but that's something that you have to figure out for yourself, right? As a mom, you said you had younger kids, so hopefully you're applying what you're learning with your oldest. You're going to apply them to the youngest, because a failed class just doesn't go away. Let's just say that first. But also, there were some things that stood out to me as a mom. Your son was absent 272 times. But you didn't say anything about your son's absence and anything about him not showing up for class, right? Also, your son failed every class with essentially only passing, I believe, 3 in 4 years, right? Okay. You didn't speak on that as your son's issue. Like, how is your son okay with not passing his classes? And like that's the issue right there. You gotta talk about that. Right? And that you feel like that it's not your son's fault, that the school did him wrong, right? And that he shouldn't be punished. Okay, I'm gonna be clear about this, right? 12th grade to 9th grade, harsh, right? It's harsh. You know what I'm saying? 12th grade, you leaving, you ready to go to school, or you're just getting out of high school, right? And you're feeling yourself. But the reality is, the school just can't graduate him now that whatever errors have been now rectified or reconciled, right? Where they see like, oh, something ain't right. Because your son essentially has not learned anything, right? Like they can't he can't get a diploma. He can't get it, right? Because he has not essentially earned it. Now, you may feel bad because he's embarrassed, but you need to tap in, because when the school sent the letter to the news station explaining the situation, they cited a few things that they do in this situation when the child, as your son, was failing so much. And one of the things they said was that they call home, they send a letter in the summer letting you know the kid's status, that when they're absent, that there is a automatic call that is generated to the number on file, yada, yada, yada. This story is deeper than this, Miss Tiffany, because it's either two things, right? Your son has been actively deceiving you, right? He's been actively perpetrating that he was doing his work, passing his classes, on the right path, and you did not double check as a parent, right? You did not show up to the school. You did not meet with the counselors as you should do as your child is going through high school to get a real picture, not the picture they paint, right? Not the little, pixelated BS they paint, but the real picture so that you as a parent are informed. Now, let's talk about the school. The school was wrong, right? Like, the reality is that there should not have been any promotion from that first year, right? That 9th grade year, when your son did not do well, he shouldn't have been promoted. Somebody dropped a dime, and they should be held accountable for that too, because they kind of shepherd the way for the deception. Because the one thing to tell a kid, right, when they in trouble, is to forget that they in trouble, right? To say to your kid, you know what, when I get home, I'm going to talk to you about what you're going to do, right? Or I'm going to talk to you, or you in trouble, you on punishment. And then when you get home, you don't talk to them, ain't no punishment, right? That's like the worst thing you could do to a kid who know that they didn't do something right. Because in their mind's eye, they got away with it. So the school, y'all did wrong. Y'all culpable for that. Y'all need to fix that. He can't just be graduated. Something's gonna have to be done. But mom, Miss France, Miss Tiffany, you also dropped the ball. And you gotta own it. You gotta make your son be accountable for it and learn the lesson. You got other ones, right? You're gonna learn this lesson. But your son is also to blame. It's not just the school. That's all I'm gonna say. That's it. Bye.
As you can see, it's not too many responsible parents or responsible adults that's giving mom too much leeway on this one. To have your child fail in a class or two maybe, and they snuck and hid it from you, things are going to happen. But to have your child fail 22 out of 25 classes and not a thing, and it's all the school's fault, not too many people are going to accept that. But it is a handful of people out there that's not only on mom's side, that gave mom a pass, and they even made mom the hero in this situation.
He didn't fail. The school failed him. The school failed at their job. They failed.
So there's an awful lot of Judge Judys in the comments judging this mother.
Beauty fades, dumb is forever.
But I actually looked this story up. It's actually really fascinating. And there's been an update, and some of y'all might owe her an apology. So mom finds out that her son that she thought was a senior apparently had only passed 3 classes in 4 years. He had a 0.13 GPA, and he was actually in the middle of his class. So there were 58 other students that had GPAs lower than him. Despite the fact that he was failing literally everything, he was still being promoted to each grade level. Mom never got notification that there was an issue with his grades. She never got a parent-teacher conference request, and she was never notified that he was missing 273 days of school.
Lies, lies, and more lies, and lies on top of lies.
We gotta stop her right there. We gotta stop her right there. She didn't respond to the notifications about her son, but she was being notified. There's no way that you don't get notified in 4 years of high school. So that's not true, ma'am. If you're gonna tell the story, try to tell the story correctly.
You stay focused.
You right, Mr. Miyagi, my fault. Continue, ma'am.
It's also worth noting that mom was going through a really rough divorce. She had multiple jobs, and she also had 2 younger children that she had to care for. There was no mention of the father, but of course that didn't stop people from dragging this mama to hell in the comments. In March 2021, mom goes to the news there in Baltimore, and they launched an investigation on the school district in West Baltimore. And what they found is explosive. Check this out.
6 months after Project Baltimore broke this story, an internal investigation by city schools confirmed a massive scheme to inflate enrollment and change grades at Augusta Fells. 4 employees, including the principal and vice principal, were implicated and no longer work for city schools. Local and state agencies launched investigations. Criminal charges may be filed, and a bill was introduced in Annapolis to change how Maryland schools are funded.
This is such a great story because not only did mom help her own kid out, but she helped out the entire community there in West Baltimore. And all of the students and families there will have a positive impact because of this. I even read recently that they are going to get some tax dollars back because it was determined that the tax dollars were mismanaged at that school district. Fantastic story of activism.
That's a stretch.
I don't know what point she was trying to make right there. I don't know how her complaining about her son exposed some corruption. And I don't know why she trying to act shocked like it was some corruption in the Baltimore school district. You see how many kids it's failing? So I'm not sure how she tried to make mom the hero in that, because supposedly they was out there changing grades. She should have hoped that they changed her son grades. She wanted him to graduate and was failing. They didn't change her son grades. So what, she was mad about that? I'm not sure what the whole, how she tried to flip that. I don't know, man. But if you ask me, it's a parent's responsibility to know what's going on with that child at all times, man. You just can't drop your child off at high school and say, y'all got to handle everything. I don't have to do anything. Life don't work like that. And, you know, you have to take responsibility as a parent. If your child has missed 272 days of school and failed 22 out of 25 classes, like, a lot of this fall back on you. You can't be that clueless. And like the one lady mentioned, the whole time while y'all conducting this interview, instead of my man being at a desk with a book, trying to do some catch up, he on the video game. He on the video game. And you sitting there telling him it's going to be okay like he the victim.
Be strong, son.
Meanwhile, like you said, you know he hasn't been passing. So you got to make it make sense, man. You got to make it make sense. And when I was younger, it used to be kids that failed. And them kids that failed either went one or two directions. Most of the time, they was embarrassed from failing and having to be with the kids younger than them, and they got it together. And a lot of them worked extra hard to get put back in their right grade. Like, a lot of these kids are begging to be punished. I know that's a crazy concept for a lot of you people out there to get, but when you come from an environment where it's chaos, nothing matters, and then you go outside that environment and you go to school, and then you get to school and none of your actions matter, you start really having a bleak outlook on life, man. Some of these kids act out because they want to get punished, because they want to know that it's rules and order in this world. And a lot of people think that they're doing these kids a favor by trying to treat them like like they special needs cases or something. And you end up doing more harm than you do good. A little discipline on a child, especially at a young age, can impact them in the right way and go a long way. But y'all just got to be willing to do it. If you fail ninth grade, you in ninth grade until you get out of ninth grade. And a lot of people have stopped failing. But anyway, man, this video pretty much then came to an end. So y'all hit me up in the comments section. Tell me how y'all feel about everything y'all have just witnessed.
Tell me how you felt about what just happened there.
And if you made it to this point in the video, you are my MVP.
It was a stone groove, my man.
I'm out of here.
Way to duck and dodge accountability as a mother. If anybody failed that child, it was that mom. For 4 years, you didn't know that your child had a .13 GPA, that he missed almost 300 days of school across 4 years, that he only passed 3 classes. And when he passed them with a D. For me, I don't understand how you're so uninvolved. And to say, you know, I'm a single mom, I have 3 other kids, or 3 kids total, I'm not sure. I'm working, and to blame the teachers is absolutely insane. You have 3 kids and you couldn't keep track. They have hundreds, and they're supposed to chase down parents and make sure that parents are being contacted for every little thing. To be honest, by the time you get to high school, if you and your kids aren't focused on your grades, I'm not going to be, you know, hounding you for it. And making sure that everything's followed through with. I don't know. It's mind-boggling to me that mom really thinks that it's everyone else's fault but hers. And so I was just curious, and I was just wondering what you guys thought. If you guys saw that video or the clips going around where mom is saying, you know, the school failed the school failed them, and then she's saying, you know, my son is asking, what did he do all this for? And in my mind, I'm like, honey, your son didn't do anything. You and your son did absolutely nothing for 4 years. You didn't check grades. You didn't log into the portal to see, like, what his grades were. You and your son did nothing. And now it's everyone else's fault that he's failing. Woe is me. Woe is me. And my mind is just mind-boggled. I have kids. I've got a 9-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And I can't imagine not checking in with my kids regularly. Like, I don't know. It just blows my mind.